here's the takeaway. All right. First, it's another nail in the coffin for human rational decision making. Those apparently just do not exist. That the whole economics, people always will take the option that's best. No, they don't. They just bumble around randomly and take what feels right, even if it's really not. Hi there, my name's Guthrie, and I'm here today to talk about behavioral economics. Specifically, our topic today is subjective probability. So, what is subjective probability? Well, subjective is a personal view of oneself. So, if I have let's say I give an objective review, objective versus subjective, objective review of Star Wars, being like, well-crafted movie, good special effects, good acting. That would be what the regular person would say. And then there's subjective, which was, I hate it, plot hole city, or I love it, plot hole, it was the best thing ever, right? It's very subjective to me personally. And then probability, right? Probability should be 1 out of 10. Those are odds. That's a probability of something happening. Should be finite and concrete. Subjective probability is just the idea that sometimes the way we as human beings perceive probability is non-rational and is in fact subjective. So the paper in today that we are going to use is Cognitive Experiential Self-Theory and Subjective Probability, Further Evidence for Two Conceptual Systems by Kirkpatrick and Epstein. So you probably guys have heard of System 1, System 2. I've talked about it earlier. It's a Daniel Kahneman, the Kahn-father of behavioral economics. He basically has a general theory that we float around every day in System 1 mode, which is easy, and I'm looking at a picture of a face and it's smiling, and I know it's smiling, and I don't have to think about it hard. And then there's System 2 thinking, which is, that 13 times 17, tough, gotta really focus and hone and try. And we don't like being in System 2. Now, there's another way of kind of viewing this, and that's the further evidence for two conceptual systems in the title of the paper. And so one is called the experimental conceptual system, and the other is the rational conceptual system. And I'm going to try and simplify this because obviously those phrases in themselves, experimental conceptual system and rational conceptual system, don't mean a lot. So let's go on a mind journey. Clear your mind. Think of a paperclip on a beach. Okay. So, and I'm just gonna read this so you can visualize. Think of a door alone in a long hallway. A single door, closed, and it's in an empty space. Through the magic of the brain, you have conjured up an image of a door. You can see it's go up to it. What color is it? How does it open? Is it physical? How solid is it? Can you knock on it? Does it have a resonance when you knock? So it's a physical object, right? This closed door in an empty space. Okay, so right before you touch it though, you just lean up to it and blow on it, right? Can you dust have little? It's old and dusty and have little dust particles fly out. Okay, so my guess is that your brain made a solid door. Right? The breath didn't go through. It's a real physical object in your mind. What you're doing is you've created an object that's observable. You used your experiential conceptual system. That's what it is, right? So you're basically creating experiential, right? You're experiencing something and you're conceptualizing it in your head. You're imagining the physical world, but in your mind. So now if I, of course, give you a tricky math problem and I have here 47 times 16 divided by 19, I want you to visualize the answer. In the same way you visualized, you just created the door, create the answer, 47 times 16 divided by 19. Unless you're an autistic savant, you can't do it. You can't the answer just can't come before you in the same way that you could a door. And that's very interesting. And that's just a limit of our, of the brain science that we have. So I personally find that really cool. And so in this great experiment, Kirkpatrick and Epstein wanted to see if there was weird human brain stuff when they had you switch between these two systems. And so here's the setup. So there are these two bowls with red and white jelly beans. So one was the big bowl that had 100 jelly beans, and the other was the small bowl with only 10 jelly beans. And so they set up a game where you randomly pick a jelly bean, and if it's red, you win some money, like a couple bucks. And if it's white, you don't win anything. You don't lose anything, you don't win anything. So then they put their subjects into 4 conditions. Okay? So condition 1, and it was condition 1, they told subjects, hey, you have a 10% win rate, right? So that means in the small bowl, there's 9 white jelly beans and 1 red one. So if you get lucky, you'll pick the red one and you win, but you probably won't win. And in the big bowl, you got the 90 white jelly beans and 10 red ones. So it's the same odds, 10% in each one. Okay. The second condition was the same, except you had a 90% win rate. So in the big bowl, you had 90 red ones and only 10 white ones. And in the small bowl, you had 1 white one and 10 red ones. So again, you had a 90% chance of winning. So conditions 3 and 4 were exactly the same, except it was framed as losing. So instead of a 10% chance of winning, as in a condition 1, you had a 90% chance of winning. A 90% chance of losing with the white, you had 90 jelly beans in the big bowl and then 10, and then, 9 jelly beans and 1 red one in the small bowl. So it was framed the same. You have either a 10% chance of winning or a 90% chance of winning or a 10% chance of losing or a 90% chance of losing. So the thing to realize here is the odds in the bowls are exactly the same. In every condition, the odds for the big bowl and the small bowl are identical. It's just that one bowl has 10 times the number of jelly beans. So statistically, there should be no difference. And basically then, after presenting these two bowls, they'd ask, which bowl would you like to bet on? And the computer program, the AI program, would tell you, there's no difference. You have either a 90% chance to win or a 10% chance to win. It doesn't matter. Big bowl, small bowl, it should be random. But of course, we are humans, and that is not what happened. So when presented with the low odds of winning, the 10% for the win, 90% for the lose, 75% of people chose to bet the big bowl, which was so crazy. That's just nuts. And then, but when you gave them a high chance of winning, right, the 90% chance of winning, 10% lose conditions, only 30% chose to bet the big bowl. So that is so crazy. Again, when you give them, a 1 in 10 chance of winning, people want to gamble on the big bowl. But if you give them a 90% chance of winning, they want to gamble with the small bowl. Now, why might this be? And I want to quote the Behavioral Economics Guide of 2016, quote, our experiential system, unlike the rational system, encodes information as concrete representations, and absolute numbers are more concrete than ratios or percentages. So when we're faced with just a ratio-based math problem, we use our rational system. So when we're standing in front of jelly beans, our rational system loses out. So instead of the small bowl, right? We don't think, we have a 90% odds and calculating odds. We see 9 jelly beans that are red and 1 jelly bean that's white. Okay, that kicks us in. It kicks us out of rational and into experiential. And the same thing, so because 9 out of 10 is a concrete number our brains can handle, but 90 out of 100 is too much. It's just a bunch of jelly beans in a bowl. So when there are fewer chances to lose, we want the small bowl because we see, look, there's only 1 white jelly bean, right? I'm probably not going to pick that one randomly, right? There's only one way to lose. Whereas if the odds are bad, then the brain goes, ooh, I want to go to the odds. I want to have 10 winners. If I want to bet the big bull, even though the odds are exactly the same. So we walk around in this non-rational mode, and that's why people bet on the small bull. But if you only have a 1 out of 10 chance of winning, that sounds horrible, and I'd rather have 10 chances of winning, so let's bet on the big bull. So even though the odds are the same, we are walking around in this emotional, I'm going to vote with my just gut, I'm using my easy to think experiential system. I don't like to be in the rational universe. I don't like to think rationally, think about math, use ratios, that kind of stuff. So here's a takeaway. All right. First, it's another nail in the coffin for human rational decision making. Those apparently just do not exist. That the whole economics, people always will take the option that's best. No, they don't. They just bumble around randomly and take what feels right, even if it's really not. And so that's the first part. And then if you want people to feel better about making a choice that has small odds of success, right? You're probably going to lose, but you want to have a small odds. Give them they'll feel better if there are a lot of possible winners. So instead of saying there's only one winner in this huge pile, right? It's not 1 in 1,000. Make it 100 in 10,000, and that'll make people feel better. Like, oh, there's 100 winners. I might win. I might be one of the 100 because 100 sounds like a bigger number, even though the odds are exactly the same. Conversely, if you want people to feel bad, feel bad. I mean, I guess you could if you want. But if you want people to feel better about making a choice with a high odd with good odds, you should minimize the number of losing tickets, even if that means reducing the number of winning tickets. So, for example, I want to be approved for a mortgage. I don't want to hear that for example, maybe only 150 people out of 1,000 lose, or right? Like so my odds are 80%. I want to hear that 8 out of 10 make it, because in my head it feels, only 2 people don't, versus, well, out of every 800, 200 people don't make it, right? Well, I could be one of the 200. 200's a lot. So just understanding that people are walking around in this not this rational system, but this other system. And when you present odds to them, those odds will feel different. They're subjective. The odds do not exist in a rational form very often when it comes to human decision making. So give it a try. Let me know if it works. I hope you enjoyed it. I really like this study. I think it's very fascinating. And I will talk to you later. Bye.